Okay, morning. Now I'm gonna hit on FX. So we'll start with the dollar, top down, monthly cycle. We've been, we've been dollar bulls really since 2014 when we kind of broke out here. I've talked a lot about this. There's been some counter trend moves though that obviously have gone on for 3, 4 months that have been pretty major, especially this one off the new high, 2017 when we ended up actually holding pi on the weekly, I think it was. But this was pretty pivotal spot where a lot of dollar bears were getting all excited down here, and it was just foolish. After you've had this big of a drop, I mean, you had this big of a drop into an area which is basically a 50% retrace of this entire move, or if you think of this as an entire move, this is exactly where you wanted to hold long term. And this is, and that spot, that's the spot for this longer term uptrend in the dollar. I mean, just because we've been grinding higher here and then you get below some of this intermediate term stuff's broken down, doesn't change the long-term trend for the dollar. To get us to be dollar bears, I mean, you'd have to break the bands here. That would be the point where I'd start to get bearish. Longer term. So monthly cycle is kind of interesting to me, or you're not really low within the cycle, but you certainly could turn up. It looks to me, it just says maybe the dollar is going to front run the Fed here again in equities, and if growth continues to slow, whether it's first quarter or second quarter of this year, then maybe this dollar has a little bit more weakness as the monthly cycle gets back a little bit lower in line with 1 or 2 months lower, and then you actually could see another up cycle on the monthly level. When we go to the weekly, this is the pie line hold that we talked about. This was a good call. We were really bullish and constructive in short euros here. April, we're coming off this pie line, and then you can just notice the bands. Everything is still in an uptrend, longer term. A lot of traders are going to have the 200, even on DXY. They're going to have the 200. So that's 90, call it 95, 96. These are areas. So I think of it like a rope in a boxing ring. You don't want to be too level specific, but treat it more like areas. I mean, if you were to get bearish just because you're below the 200 week, intra week, especially, it's kind of foolish. We'll come back to the euro and see what level that's pretty. I think it's pretty much the 114 level. That will be the lows from June. Highs on the euro, right? So we'll come back to that. If you were to get below this spot I'm highlighting, then our model, you get to move back to the pie line, which again, we'd see if we're going to get a long-term hold and a resumption of the uptrend or not. But those are the two spots I care about really on DXY. When I go to the daily, and again, your weekly is setting up almost the same as the monthly, where it may continue a little bit lower first part of this year. The daily, now the daily, I mean, if you've had the call that the dollar is going to weaken, it's been a good call, no doubt about it. But it's a little still premature to be calling, that the dollar is quote unquote breaking down. We've got lower highs on the intermediate term, and you have lower lows now. But again, these are the weekly levels where I actually I would pick up my core short on euros and long dollar positions into if and when we get into that area. Daily cycles back up on the dollar index. We'll see if we can get above the 8. The top of my range there for this time frame is closer to 97 and 3/4. 4 hour intermediate terms back down. So that's not a huge conviction on. I mean, I like dollar longer term. I'm just being patient because I do think it can be a little bit softer on the intermediate term. So I'm still playing a core short on the euro, and I haven't been in a hurry to add to it. And for all those reasons, now the monthly cycle, it's going to be pretty much just the inverse of the dollar index. But the monthly, can it continue higher? Absolutely. It is still in an uptrend, an up cycle. Weekly, Again, this was the breakdown back through 124. We were pretty aggressive on. But I mean, still in a long-term downtrend. Nothing to get excited about for any type of reversal. Here's the highs from June, 114. And you're gonna pie's basically gonna be coming right into that same area a little bit higher. The start of the year last year, I guess we were up at 116, 115. So you got a lot of work for the euro to do to turn back longer term bullish in our model. So this weekly cycle is saying the same thing, that maybe we do kind of extend a little bit higher. I would be aggressively setting some longer term shorts closer to 114. But every time, but it's still, I mean, the euro is just having a really hard time rallying. The daily, we failed at pi exactly into the end of the year. Nice topping tail. And we're on this down cycle. The daily cycle's done an amazing job the last 18 months. I've highlighted that in several videos, and you can count all these ebb and flows. Daily cycle's pretty much just nailed it, downside and the upside. So this could continue maybe a little bit lower. If you sold pi, you would be covering some 2-3 days lower. We were kind of halfway of this move off the low from 110. I think it's going to continue to be choppy. I'm still a better seller. It's just I haven't been that aggressive. I've been more interested on the yen. Let's start with that. Go there, dollar yen. Start with that pair first as far as the yen goes. The monthly cycle, kind of a whole lot of nothing. Really, we've been this 3-4 year consolidation. And was some signs at the end dollar yen was going to break down, which makes kind of sense with global growth doing what it's been doing and slowing. But last week, I think the yen was probably the strongest FX pair. And now we have a monthly cycle that's about ready to do its thing again. I think is really, really key. I've been saying that the yen setup on the long side is one of the best looking trades, that and the gold miners a couple months ago. So that's been a good call. We made some good money last week on that. You get a little bit of a dead cat bounce today and yesterday. But that's fine. I want to actually sell into it. So the monthly cycle's high. Weekly is actually crossed over to start, I would say, last week. And this is just a really nice kind of technical setup and example of what we're talking about. Lower highs long term. These are lower lows relative to here, and even this was that kind of flash crash we had. But if you look at the closes, so these are all lower lows, lower highs. So you're actually trending lower. And then here we've had this kind of, with the risk on rally, the last 6 months, the yen's weakened, but to start really coming into the end of the year and start this year, we kind of broke that pattern. So this is a swing line setup on this time frame, and I think the hedge is to be short and bullish the yen. This can continue lower also this cycle. Pretty good move. And then the daily, you can see the downtrend pretty clearly. If you were looking for set some shorts here, that worked well with this cycle down. This cycle worked great. And I think we're setting up for another one. So that's what I'm playing for. Keep selling the rallies. Even if we extend back here to 109, it's just going to get heavier and more aggressive. That's the right way to play that. Let's look at cable. Just look at some other day trades going on. Cable. All right, so I've been setting up. I try to pick a couple FX pairs that I really want to do the bulk of my core trading on, and then I'll sometimes hedge around those bigger core positions. So I would say up into the last 2 months, core short euro has been the heaviest core short for me. I've kind of backed off of that, and now the yen has more of my attention and capital. So when we've been shorting dollar yen, on the other side of that, when the yen gets overbought, I've been looking at dragon, pound versus the yen, and euro versus the yen. So being long euro yen, when I'm short euros like versus dollars, and I'm short dollars versus the yen, euro yen is kind of a good hedge on both of those positions. And then same thing with dragon. So dragon has been lighter. And then on the other side of that, I've been shorting cable. So pound versus dollar. So those are two pairs trades. But euro yen, it's a series of higher lows. I am directionally, this is actually longer term bearish. So it's a hedge. It's a smaller position. I'm only really nibbling when we get oversold. And then like on this bounce this morning, I took some off just because we've had a pretty good rally off the lows. So I was adding to the positions down here and then came out of some. Let me see if I can show you guys. So we were buying kind of on this dip. I sold a lot out. And I was cutting risk here. I haven't really gotten back in. I didn't go back in on the long side on these lows because I was mostly taking profits on the euro coming back down. As you can see on the dragon, so here's cable, course short. Just kind of trading that around. We sold the highs pretty good. And then on dragon, my long is a little bit up here. I'll add again if we get back to these lows down here near pi. So these were decent buys. If we get back down to levels down here, I'm gonna add into that. So hopefully if we get dragon to come back down with this cycle, that's probably an opportunity to cover some more cable, and then I'll feed a little bit into this long. But again, I want to keep this much smaller than my directional trade on sterling. And their cable is not really that bearish until it starts to break back down through the bands. And I'm not entirely sure it will. So this is pretty key for sterling to hold if it's going to continue this uptrend. And then obviously that's going to matter. Sorry, that's dragon. But that's what's going on with cable also. So you can see same thing. So I will be covering some if we get back to these bands down here, call it 129.5. And if that breaks, then if that breaks, that's going to be pretty bearish. Then I'll get heavier sterling and probably cut a lot of that dragon. See how long I am if we were to get down there. Not much else directionally, I don't think, that I'm doing in FX. Aussie's going to follow this risk on rally. It's been pretty weak. This morning, today, failed at pi. We'll see whether or not it checks up into what we call the bands. Yeah, that's kind of been your trend. So we'll see if it holds here. If not, I mean, I think that says a lot for Asia, the global growth risk on trade. Let's keep an eye on Aussie though, just kind of as a global macro signal to whether or not. I think that would be a signal for the overall economy if that continues to break down. I was not involved up here near pi, but that was obviously nice shorts. Just look. I'm kind of curious to see I haven't looked at Aussie versus the yen. Failed at pi. What is this? Daily chart. There's your higher lows. I mean, if we start to break these bands, it's gonna that to me just is a lot of risk off. It just signals a lot of risk off to me. I'm looking at these ultras now and getting hit. I sold a little bit here. I might cover a piece of this ultra. Let it run. That's probably it, guys, for the NASDAQ. Or sorry for the FX. Dollar CAD starting the year on a bearish note. It's making lower lows. I guess it wants to cycle back here to pi. That's definitely been rolling. CAD's strong, and actually energy's been a strong place to be, so I'm not surprised that their currency's doing a little bit better. Euro Kiwi, kind of sideways chop, more or less. Some series of higher lows. I haven't been involved with that pair very much. Kiwi, long-term series of lower highs. We'll see if we fail at the bands. If you get back below the 8, then I'd say Kiwi's back bearish for a move back to last year's lows. If you look at the one, made a higher high, 7.19. Now we're just kind of tailing back with this weekly cycle. Probably see another higher low in here relative to this low and this low. See if that materializes. Anything I'm missing? Euro versus a pound. It's just another major failure long term up here at this regression channel. And then just cycled all the way, boom, back to pi, held pi exactly. Pretty amazing. I haven't been involved in that the last 3 months. I don't see a lot here directionally. If anything, to me, it says maybe cable can come a little bit lower if this wants to come back closer to like 87, 88, but we haven't been trading that pair much at all. All right, guys, I'll try to do one more maybe around bonds and commodities here before the US Open, another video.